Brooke.
Hi Barbie, welcome back.
Welcome back. Well, this is May 13, and
Already.
all of a sudden, everything's growing, right?
Everything has greened in.
Yeah, and I'm suddenly feeling panicked. Can we get it moved around and all set for our set it and forget it Memorial Day deadline?
Yep.
And we're going to have to put some time in. And I'm asking Brooke if she can keep helping, and she's saying, well, actually, no, everybody else is calling. Everybody wants her.
Right.
So
it's the busy season.
It's the busy season.
But we have a lot to do here today, for sure.
We do. I'm getting panicked. Everybody's got garden fever, and we had an expert visit the town of Marion at the Marion Garden Group, and then he was so good he was invited to speak at the Marion Art Center. And then he came here. His name is Paul Split, and he's the coolest guy. When you see him, you realize he's got this funny glow, and he's amazing. Has sparkly eyes, kind of like Santa Claus. His job, his career mostly was managing the grounds at Great Woods.
Okay.
And he learned a lot about how to make things grow. And now he lectures. He's 80 years old. He's amassed a lot of information. And I asked him, he asked me actually if he could come look at our garden. So I brought him, and he looked and he said, there's straw all over these gardens. And I said, yeah. And he got out his phone, and I thought he was going to take a picture. And he showed me and he said, this is my garden.
Yeah.
He said he is in 3 different community gardens. He's revered, and he goes and he lectures. Everybody knows he's an expert. He says he can't get anybody else to cover the garden with straw.
Really?
Really. He says he does it in these other community gardens, hoping it'll catch on, and everybody sort of maybe tries it, and then they don't do it quite with commitment, so it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they say, oh yeah, that doesn't really work. And he said to me, he said, how do you get people to cover their gardens with straw? And I said, it's a requirement.
Yeah, we have to. We tell them you must cover it with straw in order to be here.
We have 10 allotments, and that is the one thing. People can make a lot of choices, but there's no gardening with open soil. Yep. Everybody's got to keep it gardened, covered with straw.
Well, also because we're trying to conserve the water situation, too, because we don't have a lot of water to work with besides our rainwater.
That's right. And Paul said he laughs as he watches people go out with their hose and they water, and he never waters.
The straw makes such a difference.
It makes
really
such a difference for fertilizing, for weed control. And so his eyes just twinkled, and he said, I can't believe you've done this.
Good.
And we stayed for 2 hours as he watched all the funny little things that you and I do. He loved the jugs. He loved the winter seed starts in the jugs.
Awesome.
And I'm sure he's going to try and copy that. And I just felt like everything we're doing is so validated. This project is really, it's very
well, a lot of
important.
stuff is greening up and growing out there. There's a lot going on. A lot was successful. So today we'll focus on kind of transplanting some things around and putting them in the place they want to be.
Where they want to be. The shortfall in this style is that you can't really plant seeds. And when you do plant seeds, you run into problems. So we're going to go out, and some places where we planted seeds, we're going to abandon it. And we're going to set in, now we've got these squash seedlings, and we're going to begin to have real plants surrounded by straw, and you're going to see the magic of the set it and forget it garden.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Here we go.
Let's go garden. So today we're going to work in QE2, which is an allotment owned by Matt and Peg, and they hope their grandchildren are going to like it. One thing, Paul Split came and looked at this allotment, and he had a lot of suggestions. One is it needs a gate, and he likes a guillotine gate. Have you ever heard of a guillotine gate, Brooke?
No, I'm not sure.
Well, it's just a simple rectangle
Yep.
that you have a slot at the bottom, about a foot high, and the rectangle drops into those slots.
Yep.
And the advantage, what's the obvious advantage?
it's easy to do.
It's easy to do, and rabbits cannot crawl under.
Yeah.
If you look at all these other swing gates, as they swing, they catch on the ground.
There's an opening at the bottom of those, yeah.
And they're always a little crooked.
That's a good idea.
So he's suggesting a guillotine gate, and I suggested that to Matt, and I have a feeling he's gonna get one in. These tomatoes, when Paul saw those, he said, wow, those are great. He said most people would say they're planted too close together, and I think they're planted too close together. But Paul says if you have these tomatoes grow up, the fruit on the outside will ripen early, and the fruit on the interior will come in late season. He says this is the very best way to grow tomatoes. So we're going to watch this closely.
Good.
But what we all agree on is that as soon as you see that first flower, you want to cut the branches underneath that first flower. And do you want to talk about why people do that?
Sure, yeah. When you cut some of the extra leaves off, the plant actually puts more energy into the flowers and making the fruit, so you get nice fruits on the tomatoes.
You're not wasting the energy on the leaves. And the other reason is because all of the predators, the snails, and the airborne yicky stuff, they all attack those lower branches first. So if you get rid of the lower branches, you're probably going...
You're also preventing some of the disease by letting the air flow. That's the other advantage of doing that.
So you're helping out the tomatoes. And that's one of the things we're going to do today. We're going to clip out, when we see flowers, and they don't all have flowers, when we see flowers, we're going to get rid of the lower branches. We're going to clear out that back area, and we're going to put in some squash plants. And hopefully they'll climb over the trellis. And the third thing we're going to do is bring over some plants, oregano. We have an oregano we're going to add in, and it'll just maybe help prevent some insects from finding the tomatoes.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
All right.
All right, do you see any flowers on any of these?
Yeah, this one has flower,
Wow.
this one does, that one's about to, this one has one.
Well, let's do it. Let's, wherever you
so
see
I guess
flowers.
All right, you can see this one has some flowers right here. So we want to try to clean up some of the branches underneath and give it more space to grow. And I would start by just cutting some of the lower ones off first. I have my handy dandy little tools, but you can use whatever you have. I would cut some of these right off. You want to make sure you make nice clean cuts because we don't want the tomato to really get any diseases. This way, if we get rid of some of these bigger leaves, the plant will put more energy into making that fruit. So I'm just getting rid of a lot of the bigger ones and a lot of the lower ones. That looks a little better. What do you think, Barbie? More? Are you doing more than that?
I think that looks great.
Think that looks better?
This guy that is coming down here, I don't know what the future is on that.
Yeah, look, he has some flowers, so I'd probably leave that, but maybe I'd cut that one leaf.
Oh, I see.
I would cut this.
All right,
probably.
yeah. Yes,
And
I like
maybe
that
even
much
this
better.
one over here. And that will put more energy into that.
Yeah.
I think that looks better.
And that baby one down there,
Yep.
that's only going to be trouble.
Pinching the suckers off.
All right. And then this one is, do we almost treat this one like an independent plant? We don't know what it's going to do
We'll see
yet.
if it makes any flowers.
Yeah.
We'll leave it for now.
Good idea. All right, I think, now look at how different that is. That's now getting a lot of sunlight, a lot of air, and disease and bugs are not going to attack it as easily, and it's going to be happier.
Yeah.
Compared to that.
And right here, you can see how the suckers grow. They grow right out of the stem, kind of diagonally in between the bigger leaves, and we just want to pinch most of those off. Just pinch them. Same with this guy. Pinch that off. And this one too. And any of the ones you see on the bottom of the plant. continue to cut the bigger leaves off. Yeah, you want to leave most of the top of the plant alone. If there's a real big leaf that's out of shape, you can cut that. But you don't want to really cut the top of the plant, just mostly the bottom and around the sides. And underneath where the flowers are. You see how the flowers are right here? You don't really want to cut above that. You want to just kind of stay below that. Right now we're going to take some of our squash plants that we've planted in these paper tubes. Luckily we did put them in the tubes. Makes it a little bit easier to separate them and transplant them individually, because squash plants don't really like to be disturbed too much. They don't really like to be separated. So this actually works out really good. And we're just going to kind of salt them in here, right into the dirt. We want them to grow near the cattle panel so they can grow up, and we can have the squashes kind of hanging all over the cattle panel, which will be really fun. And I am just going to break them out of the paper, just like so. Try not to disturb the roots that much. That. There we go. And look at that. See how the roots grow nice and deep down there? Those are nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. So without disturbing it too much, we're just going to dig a little hole. Oh, there's a worm in there. Oops. And put them right in the ground. Straw back around it. All right. I know we planted kabocha squash, butternut squash, and I think a pie pumpkin. So that's what these 3 different ones should be. And this one, same thing. I'm just going to try to take some of the paper off without disturbing the roots too much. Look at those, nice roots. And since these squashes are planted together, there must have been 2 seeds. I'm just going to leave them together so we don't take the chance of breaking them when we pull them apart. And it's okay if they're planted in intermingled with these peas, because eventually, if these peas do get bigger, they'll eventually die out, and in the middle of the summer, and the squash will really have a chance to grow and have enough space. And we'll just pop those in. There we go. Open them up. Okay. Now I just want to show you on these squash, I think these are the butternuts, or they could be the kabocha. I think they're the butternuts though. See how the roots are coming out of the bottom here? We don't want to disturb them too much. So on these I am going to leave the paper on when we plant them, and the paper will disintegrate and the roots will just grow right through. But it's important when we, oh, look at all those worms. It's important when we do bury it, we just want to make sure we bury it up to the level of where the paper is, because we find that the water doesn't really absorb into the dirt if the paper's in the way. So if the paper's buried in the ground all the way, the moisture will eventually break down like it is on the bottom of these. So we want to bury it level with the surface of the dirt. That way it will break down easier. Just like that. See how I buried the whole paper and just leave the tops of the squash out?
So we're absolutely going to have to cope with predators. And we're going to try and grow things they don't want to eat. And when they do want to eat it, we're going to try and grow enough for everybody. And we're going to just try and figure it out as we go along. These peas right here, they look like peas, but they're being eaten by probably a rabbit. If you look over to this other garden, that's what peas look like. when they're not being eaten. So we're putting the squash in a place where we know the peas have no future. And we're going to hope whatever's eating the peas isn't going to come eat the squash. So one thing that helps tomatoes is friends that are going to give off an aroma to ward off insects. And rosemary, I think, is a great compliment. So I want to offer it to Matt and Peg. It's their allotment, but I don't want to presume. So I'm just going to, Brooke is going to dig that in. It's going to be entirely watered and safe. It can be left here in the set it, forget it style we're doing, but it's not coming out of the pot. If they don't like where we put it, or if they don't like it, they can just pull it out. So it's a nice shorthand way of planting.
Now that we've dug the hole, we're going to just put the rosemary right like that. Just make sure we tuck it in so it doesn't have any like air pockets around it. And just put the straw back on until we decide where that's really going to live.
All right, and now we're going to keep pruning these tomato plants. Should we work on this?
Yeah, sure.
And once we open it up, then we'll put in a few more companion plants. I keep my eye on what I'm pruning, and so when I prune something away, I just throw it off to the side. I don't want to take my eyes off, but we clean it up later.
Yeah, we'll pick up the piles after.
And if one tomato is diseased, it's very easy to spread that disease.
Yes.
It'll spread with your clippers, it'll spread with your hands, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, it's important to actually wash your tools occasionally, and if you do know that you're cutting something that has like a spotted type of leaf or something that looks funny, you definitely want to make sure you get rid of that far away from your garden and wash your tools.
Yeah.
But these look really healthy. All the leaves are nice and green.
These look healthy, but I wouldn't ever take my tools into another garden, my own garden, without washing them.
Yep.
I'm loving this. So you're not going to believe how huge these tomatoes are going to grow, much higher than this. And if you're going to grow tomatoes, you always have to have some kind of tie and some kind of stick. And there are many different philosophies. I'm just going to leave these things today for Matt and Peg, so that when they come in and they see that heavy tomato, because it's always a surprise, and the branch is almost bending over, they can just pick it up, and it's right here in the allotment, and very easily prop it up. You want to have these before you need them, because if you need them and then you run to get them, when you come back, the branch will be broken. So you always have to have something for your tomatoes to tie, and I like wire ties, but you can use old string. What do you use?
You can use whatever you have. Sometimes I just use the stakes like you have, and I put a line of string, whatever method that is.
That's good.
Yeah, that works. Or some people, people use the cages. The cages aren't really my favorite.
I think they're ugly, but people like them.
Whatever your preference is, anything you have lying around, or if you want to go buy new stuff for them, you can. They make all kinds of things for the tomatoes now. So.
Yeah, my favorite is lengths of 6-foot thin bamboo, because
Yep.
I think it's pretty.
Yep.
I'm not crazy about plastic, but it's what I have today. And it's better to put out something that you have rather than have nothing and then you need it.
Exactly.
So now we're going to do a few, you want to grab those and throw those over here, and we'll decide how we're going to put those in. This is sage, and sage is a nice addition to lots of food, but it's also a great plant. What do you think? A little sage plant?
Yeah, that's a nice open spot.
Where would you put the,
the oregano.
A nice, as soon as you walk in, see something green.
And then
Love
it might
that.
trail over a little.
Oh, I like the trailing.
And then we have
that
some
is curry, which
curry?
I've never. All these plants are coming from the sheriff sale, where the inmates are growing the food. They've got 9 beautiful greenhouses in Plymouth.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't help it. I just buy plants.
Plant sales are where we like to be.
So I don't know about curry, but here it is.
Well, maybe we put the curry just over there, and then is this
the strawberries are going to get over here?
Right here, yeah.
Perfect.
Or right here. This is a good spot, too. Let's do that.
That's a good spot.
And then I'll put the cilantro right here.
And I think the cilantro is good there.
And then Matt can decide if he likes these plants or not.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, Brooke's noticing that the straw's really thick. the straw has to be 4 to 6 inches to work. Some people think they can just put a skim coat and it looks pretty, but 2 inches is not going to do it. It's got to be 4 to 6 inches.
Yeah.
And if you've got 4 to 6 inches of straw, how are those seedlings ever going to come up? And that's why it's not really compatible with seedlings. But now that the season is turning, now we can really get the plants, surround them with their straw, and we're in better shape. So, great. A viewer asked, does the straw get moldy? And I can only say, how great is that? Mold is a wonderful thing. Mold is what decomposes all of vegetation. You don't want mold in your house, and you don't want mold where you're going to come in contact with it.
Yeah, you don't want black mold, but this is a different type.
This is going to be healthy mold. So if you look under here, okay, and you look at the bottom of this straw, and you look at that, of course there's mold in there. There's fungus, there's all kinds of, there's a whole biodiversity of all kinds of stuff in there. And earthworms are my favorite, but it's not just the earthworms. The whole idea of having this seal of dry straw is to hold a healthy population of fungus and microorganisms and bugs. So yeah, there's gonna be mold, but we don't mind, right? And
like
well,
here's your
maybe
mold.
we'll do it later.
I know, and then is it technically mycorrhizae or mycelium, or is that the other type that grows in the soil?
Oh, see, you would know,
See?
Brooke. I would
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, there's mycelium and there's mycorrhizae, which is really good for the compost in the soil, but I don't know if this mold is really that, you know. Well, the mycelium is what, it's like the underground network of the trees, you know, I know that. The mycorrhizae grows in the compost, but I don't know if what this mold is on the straw exactly. Okay.
This is pretty great. All right, so we dug in the companion plants, we added in the props, we talked about the gate, we opened up the tomatoes, so now they're easy and breezy.
Yep.
They're gonna get so big.
They're gonna be happy.
It's gonna be crazy. I think when Matt and Peg come see this, they're gonna say, wait, we paid for tomatoes that were twice as big as that, and now they're half the size. How could you do that?
Well, now they'll be 3 times as big.
Yeah, they're gonna be giant. If you put your hand on top of it, it's hot, right? You wanna check, right?
Oh yeah, feels
Too hot for worms. But let's test it, and if you put your hand inside, it's not hot.
Not as warm, no.
It's not, and somebody's come in and added some bread. I almost want to drop this up on plastic.
Do you want to see?
I do. Can we do it?
Let's find something to...
Let's find a plastic tarp.
A little bit at a time so we can touch it. See anything?
Yeah, go down more that way. Yeah. I just don't know. It's got gunky stuff in the bottom.
Oh, there they are.
Well, they're big and juicy down
They're
there.
big.
Hold on. Brooke, look at them all. But they are kind of packed down there. And let me get something else. We can dump out some more stuff. Hold on.
They're huge.
They're huge. Try and dump the rest of it in here. What the heck? Or wait, let me change that.
that one
Let me
has
dump
holes,
this in here.
And then we'll look at them.
You think I can do that? You hold it and I'll see. Yeah.
Just slide it down slowly. There we go.
Yeah.
Just mixing them up a little bit.
They like being mixed, you hope. Now go ahead. See about dumping out in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There they are.
Let me just... What do you think? Do you think that they've been alive and happy and healthy?
Oh yeah, they're happy, that's for sure.
I don't even think it smells that bad.
No.
Okay, so are we doing a good job managing these little worms?
I think so.
But why aren't they crawling around the garbage that we're giving
Yeah.
them? That's what I don't really understand. Maybe it's just not wet enough. What do you think? Maybe we'll layer it. But it's got all the food that worms like. I mean, it's got bread, and we've got worms.
There's a ton.
Juicy enough. But it is, you know what's nice is that as we're pulling this out, we don't have worms in here.
Yeah.
So it's working. The liquid is flowing into the bottom,
Yeah, no, the idea is working for sure.
For sure. It's all good except the worms, I don't know what it is. When I had a worm farm, it just looks a little different. But maybe it was just more established. How long ago did we do this?
Cut, was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Maybe I'm expecting too much too soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe it's the type of worms. We'll see.
What, can I get you to put that in? Yep. Fabulous. Yeah, and it is leaking. All right. But the nice thing is, it's a cool temperature, even though it's a hot day, and the lid was very hot. And the worms are alive. So, pretty good.
Yeah. Successful.
I think we can
It's
say
an experiment. We'll see how it goes.
So far, so good. Dear friend Pei Wen, who was raised in China and is a phenomenal gardener, has given me some Asian seeds. So I have no idea what it says. It's all in Chinese. But this is a melon, and this is the famous bitter melon, and these are the string beans. And so I want to plant these three things, and when we do it, Brooke, let's plant and in the wrappers and the hoods, because that has really worked for us.
Okay.
And we've got 3 plants, and we'll do 3 hoods. I'll get some roll-ups for the paper. That's turned out to be a very good way to start the seeds. So I'm just taking scraps of paper bags and just rolling it up and nestling it in nice and close into the dirt. I'm sort of mindful that I want everything to stay moist, so I don't want any air being trapped anywhere. But now I've got compartments I can plant into, and then I can cover them with the jug. And what that's going to let me do is start my seeds under the cover of straw. I think, yeah. And see, I've gotten 4 in there, and I don't want the paper to show. And here they are, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad. Now I'm going to water them. And when you really don't want any air, you water. And now you can really see revealed what we've got there. And you can see what happens next. The seeds go in, and then this little dome pops, and then the straw goes around. And we've got a nice compartment. And it's going to just go alongside that little squash. That little squash, we hope, is going to take over. It's going to be 12 feet long and 3 feet wide, and it's just going to be huge. But right now, it's not much, so we can use that space for something else.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and plant these Asian melons. Not exactly sure what type they are because they don't say in English.
Oh, let me see the package.
They look
okay, these are a small, tasty melon that is good to eat in the summertime. It's not a winter melon. Okay. It's a summer melon.
All right, the seeds look like that.
Good flesh, tasty, delicious. It's meant to be prolific. It's meant to grow a lot. And yeah.
So I'm going to put 2 seeds in each of the paper pots. And then we do want to make sure they're covered.
Because we don't want the paper robbing us.
So make sure we cover the tops where the paper is sticking out. And we're just going to take this extra leftover jug from the other stuff we planted and put it right over the top like we did before. Okay. And then did we want to do the bitter melon next?
Yes, bitter melon.
Okay. Oh wow, those are interesting.
Why? Oh
wow!
And this is the bitter melon?
This is the bitter melon.
Okay, so bitter melon is legendary for its health properties. It is a gigantic melon, and they can winter it over, I'm pretty sure. It's bitter, and bitter is meant to cure any kind of ailment you've got. So, big crop in China. Everybody goes bitter melon.
The last ones we'll do are these long string beans. These are really fun to grow up the cattle panel. That's the idea. Let's see what these looks like. Oh, okay. Just like any other bean seeds, really.
Yes, they do.
Should I do about 2 in each again, or?
I think so.
Okay. set it and forget it, and then we'll cover the rest with some straw.
And you can see how the soil's not resisting when we water. Sometimes you water and the water just beads and it just drips off. This water goes right in and right down. So Brooke, do you see any evidence of nibbling?
Yes, I do. We think maybe it was a bunny, nibbled some of our squash seeds and cut the tops right off. So I doubt these will come back to life. There's one right here, you can see two. So to remedy that for now, we're just going to take our cayenne pepper, just regular spice, and we're going to just sprinkle it around the edge, the perimeter right here, and that might deter some of the critters from trying to climb up here and eat our plants. It's a little windy, so just don't get it in your face.
Oh, don't let it blow in your eye.
Yeah.
It'll make you cry.
Don't do that. But
keep it off your fingers.
By doing this, we'll help to keep the rabbits and whatever other animals might try to climb in here. They don't like spicy stuff like this. They don't like peppermint, so you can use whatever you have lying around, but cayenne pepper works really well.
All right, so we'll see how that works. It's our experiment.
Yep, we'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
How much of that did we use?
Not very much.
That's
so
good.
Goes a long way.
Okay, goes a long way. Well, Brooke.
All right, Barbie, we did a lot today.
It's been another great day. So we worked today in QE2, as I call it, pruning tomatoes and adding in some companion planting to ward off insects. Yep. And then we added in the squash climbers. We hope we're gonna climb up and go over that tunnel.
Yep.
We worked over here in the cross, as I call it, and that, what did we do in there again?
In that one, we planted the Asian melons and some of the Asian beans, and then we transplanted all of the squash so it can also grow up the cattle panel. And we also moved some of the cilantro out of the jug over there.
Oh, right,
and added some fresh dirt and straw.
Cilantro is stinky, and I'm hoping that it wards off a lot of predators. And then, but what else did you do to ward off predators? I saw you.
Around the edges, since we had a little bunny, we think, come and munch some of our plants, we put some cayenne pepper around the edges to try to deter some of the critters from coming up and helping themselves.
Yeah, when they get a whiff of that, they'll go someplace else.
They don't like that.
Is what we think. And then we also, yeah, we're sort of found a way to plant in the straw by making ourselves little paper cups, planting in the seeds, and then covering with domes. And what that lets us do is seal in the moisture of the bed. Yep. And allow the seedlings to sprout.
It makes it easier to separate them when we did transplant the ones we did today. So hopefully the melons will be the same way.
Yeah, because squash do not like their roots agitated.
Yep.
So we got a lot done.
Yeah, we did.
And I talked a little bit about my friend Paul Splitt, who is a garden savant, and he's been lecturing in Marion at the Marion Art Center, and also for the Marion Garden Group. And he gave me all these seeds.
Oh, wow.
Right? And I thought, that is cold to Newcastle. So I'm going to take all of these seeds and I'm going to bring them to the Elizabeth Tabor Library Seed Bank. And if you want seeds, that's a great place to ask. And if they don't have them, then usually they'll call me and we will support it. Because we really want the Millicent Library to support home gardening. And
yeah, we really want to be able to help people do this at home and get started.
Absolutely. So we're on our way to low water, low maintenance, set it and forget it, a Memorial Day weekend,
yeah,
which is coming up.
Which is the most exciting gardening time.
Oh yeah, so wish us luck.
We have quite the head start though, Barbie.
We do.
We'll see what happens by next week.
Thanks. Thank you.
We're hoping you'll tune in for the next 10 weeks with us to see what we have in store for you and all the fun planting projects we have.
Elizabeth Tabor Library is working with us to promote growing. They loan garden tools. They have a seed bank. We help them loan garden tools. And if you want to grow vegetables in Marion, go find out more at the Elizabeth Tabor Library or email us.